The gala at the Harrington estate was an event that only the elite could dream of attending. Gold chandeliers bathed the hall in a warm glow. The air was rich with the scent of fresh orchids, and the soft hum of a live string quartet filled every corner. Men in tailored suits and women in glittering gowns glided across marble floors, champagne glasses catching the light. Among them, in stark contrast, moved Alina, a young waitress in a plain black uniform, her hair pulled back neatly, her steps brisk yet careful. She'd been working double shifts all week, saving every tip she could for her younger sister's surgery. Tonight was supposed to be just another exhausting evening of balancing trays and swallowing pride. On the other side of the room stood Alexander Harrington, tall, broad-shouldered, and wearing a midnight blue tuxedo that looked as if it had been made for royalty. His reputation preceded him, a ruthless billionaire investor who didn't believe in second chances. Widowed for 2 years, he had arrived tonight with his 6-year-old son, Henry, who clung shyly to his father's side. Henry had been restless all evening, his small body twitching with energy, while Alexander engaged in dry conversations about markets and mergers. At one point, when his father turned away to greet a foreign diplomat, Henry slipped from his grasp and darted across the ballroom floor. Alexander noticed too late the boy had stopped near a serving table where Alina was refilling glasses. Then it happened. A silver fork clattered to the ground. Henry, with the uninhibited curiosity of a child, dropped to his knees to retrieve it. Without hesitation, Alina knelt down too, crawling slightly to help him find it under the table. Her smile was warm and genuine, her voice soft as she whispered, "Found it. Careful. It's sharp." She handed him the fork and the boy giggled, crawling back toward her with another piece of cutlery he'd spotted. Soon, they were both laughing quietly, their heads low, sharing a simple moment that looked worlds apart from the grandeur around them. But from across the room, Alexander's eyes narrowed. The sight of his son on the floor with a waitress crawling struck him like a personal insult. Without thinking, he strode over, his polished shoes clicking sharply against the marble. Conversations around them faded as people noticed the sudden shift in the air. "Alina, is it?" he asked, his voice low but sharp enough to cut glass. "What exactly do you think you're doing with my son?" She froze for half a second, then stood slowly, brushing the dust from her knees. Henry stood too, clutching the fork behind his back. "He dropped something," she said calmly. "I was helping him." "You were on the floor," Alexander said, his tone laced with disdain. "At my event, in front of my guests. But before Alina could respond, Henry spoke up. "Daddy, she was helping me, and she made it fun." His little voice was full of protest, but Alexander's gaze was still locked on Alina, as though searching for some ulterior motive. He saw a young woman in a servant's uniform, nothing more. "You're here to serve drinks, not play games with children," he said curtly. A ripple of whispers passed through the nearby guests. Alina felt the weight of their stares. She could have apologized. She could have stepped away quietly. But instead, something in her, something tired of being looked down on, refused to let her shrink. With respect, "Sir," she said, her voice steady despite the pounding in her chest. "Your son was smiling, laughing even. I don't think that's something to be ashamed of." The room seemed to pause. Alexander's jaw tightened. He was about to reply when an older woman approached Henry's grandmother, Margaret Harrington, regal in an emerald gown. She placed a hand on Alexander's arm. "I saw what happened," she said, "and I saw the boy's face. You've forgotten what that kind of joy looks like." Alexander glanced at her, irritation flickering in his eyes, but he didn't speak. Instead, he turned to his son. "Go sit with your grandmother." The boy hesitated but obeyed, shooting Alina a small, apologetic wave. The rest of the evening passed in a blur for her. She avoided Alexander's gaze, focusing on her work, though she could feel his eyes on her more than once. There was a strange tension now, not just disapproval, but something else she couldn't place. Hours later, when the last guests had left and the music had faded, Alina was collecting empty glasses when she felt someone step up beside her. "It was Alexander. I misjudged you," he said simply. His voice was quieter now, stripped of the edge it had earlier. I didn't see the whole picture. Lena glanced at him, unsure if it was an apology or an attempt to ease his own conscience. Most people don't, she said softly. He studied her for a moment, then reached into his jacket, pulling out a small cream envelope. For your time tonight, he said, handing it to her. But when she opened it later, it wasn't just money. Inside was a handwritten note. Thank you for making my son laugh. He hasn't done that much since his mother passed. Tears welled in her eyes as she folded the note back into the envelope. For the first time in years, she felt seen, not as a waitress, but as a person. And though she didn't know it then, that simple moment on the floor would change both of their lives forever.